How dare Donald Trump call journalists the enemy of the people? I mean, the journalists are here to serve the people, to inform us, to enlighten us, to guide us through the dark. In these tumultuous times, we need someone bearing that torch as we march through the darkness, and they can guide the way. At least that's what they want you to believe. What happens when it's all rigged and we can see it? Fortunately, there's independent media that's actually helping guide the way. And truth be told, independent journalists and personalities aren't perfect and get things wrong all the time. And I try my best, but come on. I crank out like 4 hours of content every day. I probably put out a bunch of incorrect information. Mostly it's probably good. I do my best. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm perfect. I just try. You know who doesn't try? Actually, no. I was going to say, you know who doesn't try? I got to stop myself. You know who tries to deceive? Yeah, I'm sorry. For the most part, mainstream press. Take a look at this story. NBC News' undecided voters previously featured as Biden supporters on MSNBC, recycling personalities to push a fake narrative. To convince people that there are Cuban Americans, Latinos, and individuals who were formerly Republicans and independents who are now voting for Joe Biden. No, these people were Biden voters. And the Washington Free Beacon shows us. Check this out. NBC News featured a pair of undecided voters during a network town hall earlier this week who had previously declared their support for Democratic nominee Joe Biden on the network's sister channel MSNBC. Lawyer Peter Gonzalez and marketing executive Ismael Lano posed questions to Biden during a town hall on Monday when he appeared before what the network described as an audience of undecided Florida voters. Both Gonzalez and Lano, however, were featured in an MSNBC segment in August to explain why they support Biden. Quote, "If we get 4 more years of Trump, good luck, and good luck with the future attracting younger voters," Gonzalez said, as an MSNBC Chiron noted. He was voting for Biden. Lano was also identified as voting for Biden and offered praise for the former vice president. This video will not just be about the media lies. I'm actually going to show you a really good op-ed, if you're a Trump supporter at least, from the Washington Post. And this is why I often say, look, the media is not all bad. It's a tendency. That's the easiest way to put it. There are too many people at these organizations that are more interested in money, and some of these people are at the highest levels. But we do have an op-ed from the Washington Post explaining how Donald Trump has done a good job. I know, I was shocked. Trump actually tweeted it out. So let me tell you this, or let me ask you this. Please consider sharing this video if you think this is a story people need to see. You know, this is not necessarily just me being like, hey, I'd like help, growing my channel and your support helps me grow. It's part of it. I'm not going to lie. I do rely on word of mouth. But I've been feeling, in this past few weeks with all of these stories about the unhinged fake news and how bad it's getting, I'm like, what are we really getting done? I mean, you guys who watch this and for myself working on these videos, are we really besting them? Are we really proving that they're lying and waking people up to the fact that you don't have to like Donald Trump, but please just consider that there's something deeply, inherently wrong with our current media institutions? That's all I ask. I mean, there are people on the left who think the media is fake news. I'm all about it. I don't care what you want to believe, as long as we can start somewhere. Point out corporate press is bunk. Now, you do get a lot of people on the left and the right accusing each other of lying too. Well, that's going to happen. But this is serious. If they're putting out bad information and it's on purpose, like you have to realize these people knew these voters were not undecided. Like, this is intentional. Okay, fine. Maybe there's a slim chance that NBC was like, these people are undecided for some reason, or they were lied to. But I'm not going to impugn the honor of the individuals who straight up went on TV saying they were voting for Biden. I think it's the unnamed individuals behind the scenes who are putting on a show because they want to support a candidate. They say on Monday, NBC's Lester Holt said that Lano voted for Hillary Clinton 4 years ago, but has voted Republican in the past. Gonzalez, whose voting history went unmentioned, asked Biden to ease his family's concerns that the Democrat is beholden to the radical left. Cuban Americans and Venezuelan voters here in South Florida are being targeted with messages by the Trump campaign, claiming that a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for the radical left and socialism and even communism. Kind of. I'll talk about that. Kind of. Gonzalez said, "What can you tell people in my family, my friends, who are understandably concerned with that issue that would make them feel comfortable voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?" Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Nothing. I can't. It would be a lie. Joe Biden's like, I beat the socialists. I'm not a socialist. Come on, man. I only have a working coalition pact with Bernie Sanders to concede several areas. Now, of course, the left doesn't think that, that this pact is anywhere near what they actually want. So I'm not trying to claim that. I think it's funny because when I say something like Joe Biden's got a pact with Bernie Sanders, and somewhat tongue in cheek, the left is like, Joe Biden is not far left. Okay, listen, if you're a moderate, you don't like Venezuela or Cuba, you're probably going to be a bit concerned that he would even negotiate with Bernie Sanders. Not everybody. I'm not even saying most. I'm just saying there's going to be a decent amount of people. So what could I possibly say to calm a person who's scared about the far left? It would be a lie for me to say that it would be a good choice for you. That's just to be completely honest. Well, I don't think Joe Biden is a card-carrying communist, nor do I think that he's going to get in and start enacting overt communist policies. I think he's negotiated with the extremists. I think Joe Biden will be like, okay, we'll give you these things. But more importantly, Joe Biden's staffers bailed out the extremists, and Kamala Harris directly solicited donations to bail them out. That shows you right there that maybe they personally won't be in favor of these policies, but they'll be in favor of the people who are committing violence, acts of violence and destruction, especially in your communities. I think there are people from Venezuela and Cuba who see what the left is doing right now, and they see someone like Joe Biden, and it rings too similar to what they experienced or the stories they heard. Because we've seen the viral videos from people who are saying this stuff. But the reason I think that they're highlighting these Cuban American voters is specifically for this point. They want them to come off as undecided. Because if you approach someone as an enemy, they won't listen. This is sales 101. I used to do fundraising for nonprofits. The number one thing you don't do, okay? If you see someone walking towards you and they're wearing a suit and they have a briefcase and it says guy and he's like, burp, 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 and you walk up to him and go, yo, dude, man, come on. We're gonna chill. The guy's gonna be like, what is this? Get away from me. If you walk up to a hippie guy with long hair and dreadlocks and he's like walking down the street in a tie-dye shirt and you go, pardon me, good sir, I'm here to pitch you a great deal. He's going to be like, yo, chill, bro. You're supposed to approach people similar to how they behave. It's a trick. Rapport building. So if you approach Cuban Americans and they're undecided and you say, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, they're immediately going to say like, are you lying to me to convince me to vote for you? If you present them as undecided, then they go, look, I'm undecided just like you. I don't even know. Who do I vote for, man? Because this far left stuff. Oh, hey, what's that? Joe Biden is saying things are okay. I think I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. Now it sounds like someone just like you is making a decision. It makes it feel safe. Rapport is the number one thing people need. You need when you're engaging someone to pitch them an idea, to sway them to your side, to make a sale, whatever. If you go to somebody who's undecided, saying that you're of one of these factions, they might feel like you're trying to deceive them into tricking them into vote. Not completely, not always, but it would be an advantage to claim you're undecided, and you just now realized. It's not the first time that television networks have featured Trump opponents masquerading as undecided voters, who are difficult to find and often less publicly vocal about their political views. ABC News last month described several Trump critics as undecided voters, including one who had previously described Trump as an effing moron, pathetic, pig, swine, and punk A on social media. And this is the thing I'm trying to tell people, like, y'all need to know that when you turn on cable TV, they're lying to you, trying to trick you into voting for their side. I'm not going to tell you to go and vote for Trump. I'm not going to tell you to go and vote for Biden. I'm just going to tell you the media is full of it. They absolutely are. I think Fox News has their problems. I think Brett Baer's pretty good. He's a newsman, and people they give Fox News flack for this now. Tucker is an opinion guy, but he's pretty on the level and he's willing to engage with people he disagrees with. And I think Brett Baer is a straight newsman and he's really good at what he does. It's no games. It's very straightforward. I think he does a good job. They say another undecided voter featured in NBC's town hall, Mateo Gomez, told MSNBC on September 30th that he was leaning toward voting Biden on Trump after watching the first debate. Now, to be fair, that he could still be undecided. NBC News did not respond to a request for comment. Others at the town hall have displayed a clear preference for Biden on social media. Michelle Cruz Marrero, described as a former Republican, did not appear to be undecided. Several of her Facebook cover photos are either pro-Biden or anti-Trump. Pro-America, anti-Trump, it says. Another voter at the town hall, Cassidy Brown, asked Biden how she would protect women's reproductive rights. Biden subsequently tweeted the exchange and pledged to codify Roe v. Wade. But Brown's social media use also suggests she is not an undecided voter. On September 5th, she retweeted an account with a Biden-Harris logo for its avatar that attacked Trump for allegedly making derogatory remarks about veterans. In 2017, she shared a HuffPost article on Facebook about Michelle Obama's criticism of women who voted against Hillary Clinton. Brown also shared an Instagram post from her sister after the town hall, where she boasted Brown asked the future president an incredible question about reproductive rights. You get the point on all this. This is the media at their worst. And unfortunately, it's too much right now. We got all these outlets for years pumping out Russiagate conspiracy stuff that didn't pan out. I mean, ask yourself this. If you're someone who still finds that you typically trust the media, maybe someone shared this video with you. Remember all that Russia stuff? Mueller's investigation didn't really come up with much. I mean, if anything at all. And there was no indictment. There was no collusion. And to be fair, they didn't issue a decision on obstruction. Now, the left argues that's because you can't indict a sitting president. And the right argues it's because there's nothing there. The interesting thing is, it is not the job of the FBI to exonerate anyone. The legal system we have in this country is straight up, can we find probable cause a crime was committed to charge someone? They didn't. It doesn't prove innocence. This is the game that's being played in the media. The left then says Trump wasn't exonerated. Well, he wouldn't be. The police investigating you aren't investigating you to exonerate you. They're trying to convict you. So they're looking for evidence to say you did a crime. If they can't find it, well, then you were innocent from the get-go. You see how that works? But let's talk about actually some decent media. And I'm saying this just because it's about time we actually saw some content that was more positive for Donald Trump. You have to realize, okay, Trump is a lot of things, but he can't be wrong every single time. That makes no sense. If Trump says the violence is bad, then you can't be like, no, actually, they're peaceful. Now, when Trump says, okay, peaceful protesters to be protected, you can't turn around and then claim he's wrong for inciting violence. Or I should say, Joe Biden denounces the riots and the violence. And when Trump comes out and says the same thing, they say he's inciting violence. Oh, they'll argue there's some nuance, but the way Trump does it, Trump comes out and says X, they say Y. He says Y, they say X. That's the narrative. Well, here's what we have from the Washington Post. How Trump has made the country better off than it was 4 years ago. This is from Hugh Hewitt, a contributing columnist for the Washington Post. He says, the 2020 election is 4 weeks out. Here is the short case for backing the Trump-Pence ticket and voting for Republican senators and representatives in your state. Have President Trump and Republicans helped you since they assumed office in 2017? Or are you the same or worse off than you were nearly 4 years ago? My guess is that the president and the GOP have helped you. Yes, of course, count the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. But I think Trump has done as well as any president could have done, and better than Joe Biden would have done. Remember that when Trump restricted flights from China on January 31st, as the pandemic spread from Wuhan had barely started, the next day Biden criticized the president's hysteria and xenophobia. More recently, Biden has vowed to shut down the entire country in response to the pandemic if necessary. I want to make sure we're really clear on this one. He said, if the scientists say we need to. So if necessary, he will shut down again. Trump is taking the more political approach. We need to do what's right for the entire country, not just off of one issue. And the reason why I think that is correct, doctors aren't economists. The economy is how you get your food, how you work, how you improve your life. You can't just manifest food. So if the economy's destruction, the loss of your job and your businesses results in suicide and starvation, homelessness, then perhaps we need to prioritize the economy. And that, I believe the appropriate answer is if necessary. So I'll be fair to Biden and say he's saying if the scientists say so, but the scientists aren't the end all be all. Hugh goes on to say, now consider that you are much safer and more secure under this president than you were on January 20th, 2017, because of the military buildup Trump has overseen. Every member of the military has received higher pay, and the armed forces are now much better equipped. You might not be safer if you live in crime-afflicted Chicago or New York or Portland, Oregon, but that is another matter. Trump has reduced the U.S. military footprint abroad, choosing to punch hard while pulling back. The Islamic State's so-called caliphate in the Middle East has been destroyed. Syria and Iran are on notice. The two biggest terrorist leaders alive when Trump took office, the Islamic State's Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani, are now dead. The UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain have signed major diplomatic agreements with Israel, a breakthrough engineered by the Trump administration. and the first such pact between the Jewish state and its Arab neighbors in 25 years. That's amazing. It really is. The president has focused the world's attention on the Chinese Communist Party's imperial ambitions, human rights abuses, and role in letting the coronavirus escape from Wuhan. Trump has also shown how the World Health Organization's ties to Beijing worsen the crisis. Trump has made America's NATO's allies pay more for their share in the cost of common defense. The savings for the U.S. are better directed to domestic use. Shouldn't they pay their fair share? I mean, we have an agreement with them about what percent of their GDP needs to be committed to defense, and they weren't upholding their end of the deal. They should pay their fair share. On the economy, policies championed by Trump and the GOP succeeded in bringing unemployment to all-time lows earlier this year. Now the economy, after the pandemic forced shutdowns, is bouncing back with unemployment below 8% and heading lower. Your taxes are down and the value of your home has likely gone up, should you own one. Your freedoms and your fundamental rights to be left alone are much stronger than they were before Trump's inauguration, because the president, working with Senate Republicans, has bolstered the Supreme Court and federal courts with strong judges who honor the Constitution. These judges will long protect your religious practices and your right to bear arms, and will rein in the administrative state's attempts to control your life. Now, this one's very clearly speaking to Christian conservatives or religious conservatives in general. For the most part, I say because religious practices, but also your right to bear arms. It's not talking to liberals here. Liberals don't care for the most part about religion. There are many religious liberals. To be fair, there's many pro-life Democrats. There's a lot of reasons to suggest that Donald Trump is going to win. Notably, the Democrats' leftward lurch on abortion, but also all these liberals going out and buying guns. You say it right here. He says your right to bear arms. To be fair, I would say that's typically not catering to liberals, but now with all these liberals who went out and bought weapons, myself included, I gotta agree. Millions of Americans have benefited enormously from the Trump administration in their own particular ways. Military veterans recognize that the Department of Veterans Affairs have been dramatically improved under the Trump administration. Lovers of national parks know that long overdue maintenance and improvements to the parks have been made possible by the Great American Outdoors Act. Those in prison for nonviolent offenses or who have incarcerated family members celebrated the reforms of the First Step Act. Criminal justice reform. Very, very great. You may love Trump. You may loathe him. But his policies have undoubtedly been good for you and the country. Meanwhile, let's look at Democrats. Biden won the nomination, but Bernie Sanders won the battle of ideas. Democrats are moving hard left, ready to wreck health insurance again with Medicare for all, and the energy industry with their disastrous Green New Deal. The left wing of the party, if Democrats control Congress and the White House next year, will push for expanding the Supreme Court so a liberal majority can restrict freedoms they don't like, especially religious freedom and the right to bear arms. Many Democrats are pushing to repeal the requirements of 60 votes to pass most legislation in the Senate. When that happens, watch out. The left-wing playbook will become law, with dire consequences for the economy and U.S. society. This is what's at stake on November 3rd. You won't see a fair reading of the facts about the Trump administration's record because 95% of the media is overtly anti-Trump. It is the most absurd partisan imbalance I've ever seen, and it will only get worse in the coming weeks. The collapse of media fairness, prompted by a seething hatred of Trump, is a harbinger of an enduring one-party state. The answer is to vote against this one-party state and vote for a second Trump term. Unfortunately, I agree. And I say unfortunately, because I would love to find a principled, rational liberal. Donald Trump's fairly moderate. They call him what was like a New York Democrat or a New York Republican, meaning that Trump may be a Republican, but he's from New York, so he's fairly moderate, as much as the media would like to claim that he's far right. And you know, all that stuff's kind of drifted away. When was the last time they claimed Trump was far right or white nationalist or whatever? They say he won't disavow, but now they're just claiming he did a bad job on COVID. I believe Trump isn't running against Joe Biden. Donald Trump is running against the media. It's true. It really, really is. I'm surprised the Washington Post published this op-ed. But take a look at what's going on with these undecided voters. They're lying to us. Why? Are they trying to help Joe Biden win? Yes. That's really weird, isn't it? Why would they do that? Well, it's because they endorse him. I mean, the Washington Post, I'm pretty sure, endorsed Biden. That's why I'm surprised they published this op-ed. But take a look at this story from the Daily Mail. Fox News host Tucker Carlson airs photos of Chris Cuomo smoking a cigar at a Long Island restaurant with friends with no mask in sight after CNN anchor called Trump's return to the White House propaganda. While they praised the Black Lives Matter. While people like Cuomo said, who said a protest needed to be peaceful? The First Amendment. While they complained that Donald Trump taking off his mask was propaganda, they do the same thing. Chris Cuomo faked being in quarantine. I'm not kidding. He pretended. He was ousted when he got into a verbal altercation with a man nearly a half an hour away from his home when he was supposed to be under quarantine. And he ranted about it on the radio. We know he did it. The New York Times even brought it up like, dude, we get it. You did it. Witness saw you. You confirmed it. CNN never admitted it. Now you got a dude who's going on CNN saying, oh, I can't believe it. Oh, harumph. And then when he goes out, he doesn't follow the rules. Smoking a cigar, no mask, he didn't care. They're lying to all of us. Donald Trump is not that bad. When it comes to the Middle East peace deals and withdrawing our troops, he's actually pretty good. When it comes to domestic policy and unemployment, it's actually great. And when it comes to his overall performance, I say he's okay. Because Trump's got serious character defects that it is an important role. Though I don't think Trump's personality is the most important thing. I'm just kind of interested in making sure the country functions. It matters. But the bigger problem I see is that you look at California's one-party rule. That's really, really bad. I mean, it's really bad in California. They got poop patrol and SF. There's human waste everywhere. There's homelessness. We don't want to end up that way. So you're not just voting against Joe Biden and the Obama administration's remnants that got us involved in more war. You're voting against the media establishment. You're voting against the entirety of the establishment that manipulated you and just wanted to make a quick buck off your back. Hopefully enough progressives see through this and at least go for a chaos vote, I guess. Hopefully moderates see this, and I'm hoping that Trump wins. Because for the most part, it's the peace deals in the Middle East. I want him to continue that. Everything else, kind of just shrug. I mean, the economy, we want to get improved. We want to fix. Or him to fix it. So, you know what, man? I rag on the media all day, every day. It was good to see the Washington Post publish something that finally was like, hey, look, Trump's not that bad, right? He's actually pretty good. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. It is my main channel. Thank you all so much for hanging out, and I will see you all then.